Let's do some boat work. What we're going to be doing today is working somewhat on the posts. So I've got to get everything measured out and we'll go from there. Alright, so I've got some bed post or bed railings. I've got to measure this out. I'm going to use this one. This is going to be my foot part right here, and so that is actually going to be what I'm going to attach, and then it's going to cut this piece off right here, and then it'll go up 4 foot, something like that, 4.5 foot, and then we'll go from there. So let me measure this. It's 1.25 inches, not quite 1.5 inches on one side, and then is just not quite 1.25, just about 1.8 inches there. So then when we measure from the corners, you're getting roughly about a 1 3/4 inch diagonal there. So the widest spot needs to be at least 1 3/4 inches. Now let's go to the hardware store and get some pipe. I need some PVC pipe, probably about 10 foot, some end caps that will fit, and I need an internal diameter that's roughly 1 3/4, if not a little bit. I just wanted to point out that when you're buying crap from these bought stores, these building supply stores, whatever, a lot of this is not to the exact number that they're selling it for. So this is actually below being 10 foot, so you need to always measure to see what you actually got, because if you think you're going to get 10 foot, you're not really getting 10 foot. So I need to make sure that I cut this directly in half. Well, had to make a second trip to Halls. They sold me the wrong fitting, so I got the right fitting now. Made a mark. Now I'm going to use a step drill bit right here. I've got it marked to the right depth, and then we're going to insert this dot right here. It's an amber dot system, and we'll go from there. Alright, so I put the end caps on, and I measured the brake lights that I'm going to put on here. Center of that is 8 inches, so I came from here all the way down 20 inches. So that will, then I've placed a mark at 20 inches. I need a hole drilled here, and so I marked that, so I'm going to use my step drill bit for that, and that hole in each one of these pipes will fit that brake light fitting, and then that'll go in here. And then I'm going to show you how I'm going to fix this later on. It is 5 o'clock. I've been fighting all day long with companies back and forth, but I finally got the lights fitted. So this is how it'll work. I'm going to take this piece of plastic off, and then you'll see here on one of these that they got holes. I'll mark the holes, and then I'll drill the holes. We'll put the screws through them when it's ready, but at least we got the holes drilled. That's good. And so then the actual light will go right there, and I'll connect all that up, the harness, but we'll also need to paint this as well. So now what I got is a 5/32 drill bit I'm going to put in. I'm going to drill holes here. I'm going to use these number 8 drywall anchors, size 8. And then I've got some size 8 stainless steel screws that are painted black. And then that will go into here once I get everything ready. So we'll drill those holes out next. Okay, so now I've got the drywall anchors. I had to wallow out the hole a little bit for drywall anchors. When I paint this, the paint will actually hold these in place, so I don't have to worry about any type of glue or anything. The next thing I'm doing is using a sander, just a palm sander, to sand this down. You can see some of the dust on my hand probably. And I'm especially trying to sand this down because I'm going to actually have it where the cap comes on and off, and I'll fix that. But you want to sand this whole piece all the way down because I'm going to be painting it, and the paint needs something to hold on to. It's so slick that the paint will actually come off if you don't have it sanded. Okay, so what I did is I took a sander and I sanded this down to where this right here just freely spins around real easily. The reason for this is twofold. One, I'm not going to use friction or cement or not cement, but the PVC glue to glue this into place. Instead, I'm going to use a different feature. Also, we're going to paint it, and so therefore that's going to add some density there, so we need it to where we can freely spin this around. So what I did is on the opposite end of where my lights are going to go, there's a little divot thing on this cap here, and so I drilled a hole right where that little divot was there on it with a 5/32 inch drill bit, and then I put in a 10/24 3/4 inch pan head stainless steel bolt like this, and so that will hold this on, and then I can take it off if I ever need to. What I'll do is I'll actually go, and now that I've screwed this in, it's threaded. I was going to do one other thing. Actually, I was going to do it totally different, but I realized before I cut this railing up, I can just go ahead and paint this. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to paint it all as one thing, and then that'll be good. Then I can take it apart and do whatever touch-ups I need to do, because tomorrow it's supposed to rain. At least I can get this painted. So let's do that. Alright, so this is the Krylon Fusion all-in-one paint and primer with a no-peel guarantee, 5 times stronger adhesion in the gloss jungle green. Don't that sound divine? And of course it says that's fast drying and it works on any surface. So we're going to test this out. It's 6:30 p.m. Central Time. It's hard to probably pick up right now in this light, but this, if this does have some primer in it, is very low in primer. It took this whole can, and it's still uneven, got light spots, dark spots, there was streaks. It's not wanting to dry. There's some blue stuff, green stuff, it's all splotchy. There's spots you can still read the PVC stuff on, but you can see some of the splotchiness and all that there, drips. Not the best in the world, but I tell you what, if anybody gets too close and complains about it, well, they can pay for the next one. Well, it's painted. You can't see it, but it's splotchy. You can read through. If you had newspaper and painted over it and use this whole can, you could still read the newspaper through it. So this Krylon Fusion 5X with primer and all that, it is utter crap. But it's painted, and that 2 cans, you figure it's about $7-8 at least a can. So I've got $16 roughly in a crummy paint job. What can you expect these days? Manufacturing has gone all to crap, so please don't buy this. Well, it is the next day, and I've got a doctor's appointment and been chatting up my good friend Ricky Wallace. So we need to go ahead and get started. I only got a limited amount of time today to work on this, but just to say how things are going. They're dry to the touch. They look good. I'm not happy because I can see, like you can see through the PVC there. You can read through it. So this paint is absolute crap, but it is better than what it was. We're gonna go with it. So I'm gonna put this on the boat. This right here is gonna be my railing system for one. Then I got another one, so I gotta measure my railing system, install some bolts to connect this to that. I've got to cut off those feet with a grinder. Lots of work to do, and then probably next day, because I only got just a few hours before I have to go to an appointment, I'll probably do the lighting after all this. So let's get to work. Burning daylight. Not the prettiest grinding job I've ever done in my life, but all I gotta do is now fold this and it'll pop right out. And just like that, it's done. Now I'm gonna measure and see how far up the pipe we need to go, because I really don't want to cut this off too short. I'm thinking this length right here, that kind of worked, but I want to see if I can go up a little bit higher. I just don't want to interfere with my wires. That's the main thing. And I'm toying with the idea of maybe cutting a groove here. I gotta see where this is going to land on the trailer compared to the wires, because I'm trying to figure out, do I really want to drill holes in the middle, or do I just want to cut a slot and have the screw go through the slot and then we put a bolt on it, or a nut. So I've got decisions to make. So I'm going to use the end of the bed rail like this, and then it'll sit like this with the pole on top. So now I got to figure out how far the pole is going to go, or how far this rail will go up the pole. I'm thinking probably about where my hand is max, because I can't go, I could go out this way, but I really don't want to. I could go here. That would give me a little bit more room here, but I'd have less room to play with. I want to have this on the boat a little bit better. So I got decisions here too. Again, pardon the helicopters if you hear a helicopter. Anyway, so I made my mark. That's where we're at here. I moved down about 2 inches. That gives us about 5 inches higher than what those posts were standing up. Just a little bit more support in the system. It'll run about halfway up, which is perfect, I think. So now we're going to cut this one and make that the template for the other, so I don't have to do more measurement. And then I've already come to a conclusion. I'll move this out of the way. This was just something I was testing out. But I need to take this boat off when I attach these to this, because this boat is off kilter. I am going to post it right here. If I go all the way to the edge and don't come out, then that will give me plenty of room when I put the boat on. So what I'll do is I'll probably assemble everything up here first, put Tasha out in the boat, have Tasha be at the boat dock or something like that, bring the boat up, and then I'll take my tools and connect everything that I can mechanically here. I won't have the wires, so I'll make sure that they're poked up or something other, and then come back home and then connect all the wiring up after it's nice and dry and everything's good, and that will finish out the project. But yeah, I think that I need to actually put this to the very end, because there was plenty of room on the other side, no room on this side. That's how much sway this has, and so they'll make a snugger fit, a better fit. I think that's the way to go. So it's probably hard to tell with these, but I have rounded the edges so that there's nothing sharp. Now I'm going to get these marked on the boat as which one is left and which one is right. And then I'm going to go ahead and get these painted. It's hard to see here, but I've got 4 holes that I've drilled. They're 1.5 inches by 1.5 inches from this little roller here in front of the fender well to this right here. And the reason why I'm doing that is this side of the boat, the right side, is too far over. Meanwhile, the left side, it's too far over as well, but it's the other way. You can tell the difference because you got about, I don't know, 6 inches, something like that right there. And you might have 3.5 there on this side. So the goal will be to take this to the boat ramp, offload the boat so it'll go off, and then Tasha will take the boat and hold it down at the dock while I put the posts on. I'm wanting to go ahead and have these attached to the metal before she gets home if possible. It's getting about time for her to get home. Once we've attached them together and then attached that down, I bolted it down, we will come back home, and after I come back home, then I'm going to do all the wiring, and that will be the last part of this deal. But I wanted to give myself just enough room over in case I messed up on my measurement, that it's not too close, that I don't want to have too tight. You can be too precise, and that's what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to give myself enough slack that if I need it, I have it, but when I don't need it, I've got enough constraint to keep the boat safe and in a safe position on my trailer. Okay, so what I've done is I've actually found a good spot on my boat, and I've rested the actual PVC onto this little lip here to figure out how far I can reach in my my wrench. And this right here is 1.5 inch 1/4 inch bolt, stainless steel, so I'll have a nut going through the PVC and the steel here. So I'm going to drill holes, measure these out. I'm probably going to come up by 1 inch and then come up by another, I'd say, 1 inch or 2 inches up here, by as far as I can reach my wrench. And then once I've got that in there, I'll bolt these in, and I may go ahead and start the wiring process. Final measurements: 2 inches and 4 inches. Let me say this, some people told me that, you know, whenever you need to do stuff for trailers, use bed frames, and I always like, why bed frame? You know, I know it's easy to get, you know, a lot of times you can get them for free, but man, I didn't realize how strong these are. I have gone through every bit I've got. Nothing is really making a dent into this. It definitely ain't pretty, but the only way I was able to get any type of hole into this metal that was so hard is take an angle grinder and cut out a slot. And so I've got a slot that's roughly about the size of the bolt. Okay, so Tasha's helping me. She's home, she's helping me right now, and so I went a little bit too far down, so what we did, this is a de-hooking device for fish, and so Tasha was able to get it in there. Her hands are smaller than mine. Get it in there, and we were able to get that first one, that one way back, and now she's doing the other. I'm going to be cutting a slot in the other bed thing while she's putting that together, and then we'll put the other together. Alright, so the temperatures got so unbearable I couldn't do anything, so I went inside. It was 6 p.m. It was still 99 degrees outside, so They don't sell wire hardly anywhere around here, so I ended up having to buy a trailer system at on Amazon. So what I'm going to do, if you remember, yellow and brown is left, brown and green is right. Thank you, Rebel. And you got white for ground. Problem is there's not much white, so what I'll probably do is I'll splice some of this extra and leave the white showing out so that I know which one is the ground wire. But we got the pole here. It is attached. Tasha helped me with that before I came in. I was about to have heat stroke, and so we're going to start working on this. So first thing I got to do is get all my wires put together and make sure I got all this figured out right. Alright, so for the red lights, you'll notice that has 3 wires, but these are not the same colors as the trailer. You'll see this, and it's pretty common. So black is your constant light, so black goes to brown. The alternating, where you're turning or you're braking or anything like that, that's your red one. So that will go to either your yellow if it's on the left side or your green if it's on the right side. And the white, of course, is your ground. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so with this, we got a bit of a problem. It was sold on Amazon as being black and white wires. And of course that means that you would have your black going to your brown and your white being your ground. However, this is red and black. Usually whenever you do red and black, for DC current, red is positive, black is ground. However, these are trailer lights. And so, to the Chinese, in their infinite wisdom, they have determined that red must mean negative and black must mean positive. So if you get this, what I would recommend you do is the same thing I do. Go to your boat battery and just hook it up to the battery both ways. I tried red and black first, red being positive, black being negative, just using conventional American wisdom. That did not work. Then I used Chinese wisdom, which, totally un-American, and it, black is positive, red is negative. So just keep that in mind. Alright, so I cut about 2 foot of both the green and brown and the brown and yellow wires, and I made sure that they were even when I cut them. So this will actually go to the amber lights. Since they did not provide enough of the ground wire in the harness kit, the yellow and the green wires will act as my ground when we put them together. And so I'll have to remember that this is our actual ground wire. So I snaked this piece of line. It was already pre-cut, so I was able to keep my screwdriver in here to hold it in place. But I've got it snaked all the way down here through the hole for the brake light to connect these two. So I'm connecting the brake lights I'm connecting the brake light bar and the amber dot together. I'm going to use some of these heat shrink self-soldering wire connectors. So what you do is you slip the connector over one of your wires and then you'll wrap the wires together. Next thing you do is you slide this over so that the silver part is over what the area is you want to solder. The final stage is just to use a heat gun and make it shrink up. Alright, you can see where it's all soldered together and shrink wrapped. I'll actually take some electrical tape and wrap this over just for extra protection and to strengthen it a little bit. But other than that, that's all there is to this. Okay, so if you drilled your hole right, it'll pop into place. If not, you can take a knife and just kind of whittle it out. Mine wasn't exactly the same size. They probably were not using true American measurements and were using metric, because obviously I wasn't sold what was advertised, so it probably was a different size than what the ad said. But with a little whittling, it pops into place, and now you've got a watertight seal. Alright, I'm going to take the extra part of this and splice these two wires. I'm just going to make a chain running down. That'll be my negative. So I'll use a few extra connectors. That's not going to hurt. That way when it comes out, it'll be white and I know which one is which. And I'll connect my brake light stuff up at the top the way it's supposed to go, so that I know which is supposed to be which and how things are supposed to be. Alright, so I cut two pieces roughly about 8-9 foot, something like that. Brown and yellow, brown and green, same length. And so this I'm going to fish up from this side, but first I'm going to fuse together my grounds, and then I'm also going to put my connector on there and put all this into a special little protective pipe thing, and I'll show you that. Okay, so right here I've got a terminal connector, and so I'll use my little pliers here at the 16 gauge setting right here, and I'll run this through here. You see the metal connector, I'll crimp, and then I'll put shrink wrap here, and then when we take the heat gun, it'll all be shrink wrapped around it and make a good seal. Okay, there's the crimp connection there. I would have preferred a self-soldering heat seal, but oh well. And then I've got some white heat shrink over this. I'll run to the very end, and then I'll put black over this. Then when I heat shrink it, all that will be heat shrunk, that will be heat shrunk, all the way down the line. So we got a good connection all the way down for the negative side, or the ground. Alright, the black tape isn't really needed, but I do it just to add a little strength and support, just to add a little extra level of waterproofing, although it's really not needed. It's just something that I do. Now we're going to put this together with our other cords. And for that, what we're going to use is a 12-foot split wire loom tubing protective wrap, 3/8 inch. And so I'll cut off a piece, and then I'll get another piece, and I'll run the wires through the bottom all the way up to where the brake lights will go. Okay, so I have actually ran the wire through this little hose thing. It's just to protect it, because I've got a lot of metal. There could be some nicks, screws, bolts, anything could cut these wires. I don't want any of that. And so I figured that at least where there's metal, go ahead and have some type of protections. Now we're going to fish this through the pipe. So what I've got is some twine, and I've got a little driver nut that or driver attachment that I'm going to use as a weight. I'm going to run it through the hole at the top that I did for the brake lights, and let it fall all the way down. So I'm going to stand this up and let it fall down, because there are bolts and stuff that's stopping the wire. And so this way I can get all the way down, get past those wires, and snake it through. Something I did do is, this is the end I'm going to be connecting with the brake line. So I've got this wrapped up with tape so I don't pull it out of the connector. And here, as I feed this through, I've got this one. This is the part that's going to connect with the brakes to the dot light. And so I didn't want that to be pulled out as I'm snaking this through. And I also taped this off as well so that it's holding on tight. Just like that, it's snaked through all the way down the end. I never did split the brown and yellow wire that's coming up from the bottom, because my yellow wire here, which to the left yellow wire, this one right here, is the negative, or the ground. So I want to connect first the actual true yellow, which is the stopping and turn signal, so the brake and turn signal light, with the red here on this light, and then I'll connect the browns and all that. Okay, now that the confusing bit is done, I want to connect the grounds for this, because I'm actually connecting three wires together. I'm using a bigger piece of the heat shrink tubing. I had my phone shut off that I was videoing with, but I finally got them done. What I was saying is that you had to wrap the wires with black tape. Something I just do. You ain't really got to do it, but something I do just to reinforce everything. And then afterwards, you will see right here that there's a black screw that goes in there, and that's where I use the little sheetrock little anchors to hold this in place. And then that little hole, you had the recess. So that's the way it attaches. Of course, you got the little dots on top. And then what I'll do, Tasha has that nasty thing called work. Luckily, I had a mediation canceled, so I don't have work tomorrow. So what I'm going to do is try to find a friend that will meet me at the boat dock in the morning. We'll do the boat thing, take it out, and then when I fix them, I've got these little terminal connectors that will be down at one of the bases to connect. And then I've got this right here taped up. And then once we get to the house and everything's nice and dry, I'll have the boat out, and we'll hook this up. So pretty simple, pretty easy. So I'll see you. Well, it'll be a day for me, but it'll only be a few seconds for you. Alrighty, time to affix these bad boys to the boat. Alright, this right here is not screwed in or bolted in yet. I've just got in. I've got to put on a washer, and oops, I dropped it. But one of these lock nuts right here, and once I've done that, then we'll tighten them up. Alright, got them on. Now we need to go ahead and do the wiring part and see if it works. Well, nothing is ever easy in my life. This right here came off this, and the other side is just as loose. So that means I've got another repair project coming up, because I've got to, all this is it's a piece of board, and in Florida that's a no-go, cause that's how you get rot. So this is just a piece of plywood that's rotted, and so now I need to fix 2 of those wheel well protectors and bolt them back, but I think I have an idea on how to fix that, so we'll do that in a upcoming video. Alright, it's starting to thunder a little bit, but I'm not seeing any lightning, but it's getting dark, so I've got to hurry up. First thing I'm going to do is disconnect the power from the truck, and then we'll get under the truck. One thing I will notice, or want to note, is that there was some wire hanging down dangerously close, so I need to move those wires up. I've got some clips for that, so we'll get that took care of, and then we'll tie in with one of these here. So alright, I've stripped the wire, and everything is the same way with using larger connectors, because I'm going to connect these 2 wires to those 2 wires going to the brakes in the back tail lights, and so you'll see it when I'm done. Alright, so there we go there. I'll just bind up the wire so that there's no slack, and we'll go and also tape everything. Not the best wire job in the world, but the clips are not clipping onto this trailer. They're too small, the metal's too thick. So I just kind of wrapped it around and used some cable ties to put it in place, and also taped some of this together. So this should work. It's, like I said, it's not the best job in the world, but it's my trailer. So now it's moment of truth. Did this work or not? And we have success. You can see the yellow lights on the top showing up real well, and there's the back lights. There we go with the blinker, left blinker. There's the right blinker. And here we have with the flashers on. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Worked real hard on this. A lot of work here. If you've done something like this before, comment down below. I know fishing stuff, he's talking about buying some of these lights, or buying these types of guides and then putting some lights on it. Well, I made them and then put the lights on it. So I haven't seen many like this, but I think this is the way to go. If you've done it, I'd love to hear about it. And if you hadn't subscribed by now and you're watching to the end, why haven't you? It's free. Go ahead and subscribe, and I'll see you again next time. Bye.